Hello, today we're going to be answering questions about religious visas. These are visas specifically for religious purposes here in the United States. And we've been getting a lot of questions about those, so we wanted to address those. My name is Mercer Cauley. I'm a board certified immigration specialist here in North Carolina, and I'm an attorney with Cauley Forsyth, and I'm joined today by Raquel Fernandez, who is also an attorney with us.
Yep, and I'm really happy to be here with you guys today. Today we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic. We've gotten a lot of questions about this topic, so I hope that it's very helpful to anyone watching.
And you may have seen Raquel on social media. She was been talking about religious visa recently, and that's what spurred a lot of these questions. So there's been a lot of interest and a lot of confusion. So we wanted to bring some clarity there.
Definitely. And one of the questions was, one of the videos I posted was about religious visas. So this person is a pastor, and he's wondering if his church can help him get a visa.
Sure. So the answer is yes. And if what he's looking to do is come to the United States to be a pastor, then absolutely there is a way that this can be done. So as we're saying, it's called a religious visa or an R visa. And there are a few things that have to happen. One is that the person obviously has to be coming to the United States for a religious type of position. So that could be pastor. It could be music director for leading worship, those types of things. It could be a missions director. So it has to be tied into the church or the ministry. It doesn't necessarily have to be a church. It can be a religious organization. But yes, so that visa is available. One thing that has to be in there is that the person has to have been a part or member of either the denomination, the church, or the organization for 2 years prior to filing for the visa. So there has to be some type of involvement or level of commitment or membership before the visa can be applied for. But absolutely, that there is a way for someone to come to the United States to be a pastor.
Okay. And you specified that this person would have to come into the United States. What if this person is already in the United States and they entered without a visa?
Okay, so if they entered without a visa, then that creates some other issues, simply because if you entered without a visa, there's no way to change your status to get the visa here in the United States. So you would have to leave. The problem happens when you leave that the government will then say there's a possibility that you've been in the United States too long without a visa, and so you're going to be barred from being able to come back into the United States. At that point, you need a waiver through a family member. So if someone is in the United States without a visa, then things are much more complicated. Now, that's a great question, Raquel. If somebody entered the United States through, say, a visitor's visa, they got here, they started speaking with the church, and then the church said, you know what? We would love for you to stay and be a pastor or be a member in our
Congregation
leadership,
Yep.
in our leadership, not just the congregation, but in the leadership. So taking on some role, there would be a possibility of changing your status to get the R visa. So that it's the same process that you have to have been with the church for 2 years or the denomination and meet the other requirements. But yes, so you can change your status. But if someone entered without a visa, the possibility of this happening is going to be greatly reduced.
And it sounds like if they would need that qualifying relative for the waiver, then they might have a better option through that relative to get
Exactly.
a green card.
So if they have an immediate relative or somebody that can file for them anyway, that's probably a better option for them, and also a more permanent option. So absolutely that's something to keep in mind and consider.
And is there a more permanent solution for ministers or, like you said, people who have been involved in the church in different vocations or occupations that could qualify for this? Is there a more permanent solution, like a pathway to get to the green card?
Sure. So the R visa is a short period of time. So typically it's given initially for 2 or 3 years, but then it can be extended up to 5 years. For a permanent solution, there's a visa. It's an EB4 visa, and it's EB4 religious worker. And so that there's a process that the church could go through, or again, a religious organization can go through to bring the person here permanently. Now, with that, a lot of the conditions are the same, in that the person must be a member of the denomination or a member of the organization or church for 2 years prior to filing this. But also, typically with the permanent, USCIS is looking more for positions like pastors. That they're looking at more of the leadership, traditional type of religious leaders in order for this to work. Whereas with the non-immigrant visa, there's a little more leniency. It doesn't necessarily have to be the pastor of the church, but a lot of the EB4 religious workers are for pastors themselves. There's a possibility that other roles can be given EB4 as well, but most of the EB4s for permanent positions that we do are lead pastors or pastors in some capacity within a church, obviously depending on how big the church is.
Mm-hmm.
So that could have an impact. But yes, so that would be a pathway to a green card. And that, again, as we talked about before, that could be possibly for a person who's already in the United States here on the religious visa, and the church now wants to make it more permanent, or someone outside of the United States that the church is trying to bring in to be the pastor for them. And obviously, when you're talking a lead pastor, you'd rather it be more permanent rather than just a 2 or 3 year period.
Yeah, that's really great information. So if anyone out there is watching and is interested in doing a consultation to see if you qualify for either the non-immigrant R visa or a more permanent solution, like Attorney Cauley was talking about, you can give us a call at 704-522-6363, 704-522-6363.
And also this Friday at noon, this same topic will be discussed a little bit more in Spanish. So that way, if you have questions about the R visa or the EB4 religious worker, and or if you have a friend that is interested in those and would rather hear it in Spanish, that is an option. So Raquel will be back on Friday at noon with Jordan Forsyth, who is my partner here at Cauley Forsyth, and they will be discussing this in Spanish.
Definitely. And I do have one more question. So some people are wondering, okay, what if I'm just like an usher at the church? Would that help me qualify for the R visa, or does it have to be something more like, worship leader or leadership role?
Sure. Typically, an usher is not going to rise to the level, simply because an usher is, for the most part, is a position that is only on Sunday or only during a particular mass
Service,
or service that's going on. So because of that, it's not necessarily considered a full-time or a position that would qualify for the R visa. So it does need to be a little more in depth, and so that we can tie the position to the religious organization, and that it has an impact there. Not saying that ushers do not have an impact, they
yeah,
do,
yeah, yeah.
but just it's not a full-time basis.
Most definitely. Well, thank you so much, Attorney Cauley. I know this is very helpful to a lot of people who are interested in this topic. And if you guys have any ideas on what topic you want to hear, just let us know in the comments, and we'd love to address those questions that you have.
And that's a great point, because this topic today came about because Raquel was getting so many questions about religious visas that we felt like we need to address it. So if you have questions, please put it out there in social media, because we are looking, and that drives a lot of the topics that we discuss on Wednesdays and on Fridays.
Yeah, and we look forward to receiving your comments.
Okay. Thank you very much, and we will see you next week.